Hello, if you are a junior who just got your first role, congrats by the way, or if you are someone who is wanting more information whenever you do get that role, then this video is going to be for you. Because today I'm going to discuss what to expect as a junior developer coming into this industry, so you're not going in it blind like I had to. And also to provide you with the proper skill set to better navigate this scary but exciting adventure that is junior development. Now, I will be talking about the day-to-day so you can form a better picture of the workplace, of what's potentially going to be your work environment. But before we get into that, I want to be absolutely clear of the goal of a junior developer. And that goal is growth. And that's something important to understand. The reason why I am saying this is because I want to tell you that you do not have to understand 100% of every little thing I'm about to say in this video. If you understand and can visualize just some of what I'm about to say, then that is progress. That compared to you not knowing anything before you watch this video, that is still progress. So be patient on your own process, on your own learning ability, because everyone has a different learning pace. And don't forget to welcome and celebrate your wins, don't forget to celebrate when you do experience growth. I think you should absolutely adopt this mentality while you do pretty much everything in this industry. But with that, let's start the discussion on what to expect as a junior developer. So the first thing I want to point out is the way I see it, there's two different scenarios of what a company is going to do to you. And that's either A, they're going to throw you in and you're going to have to sink or swim and just figure things out on your own. Or B, they're going to throw you in and then you're going to have to sink or swim and figure things out on your own. But you have a mentor to kind of guide you and point you in the right direction sometimes. Notice the theme between the two, but that's not to say that no one's going to help you. When you first start off, it is going to feel like that. You are going to be overwhelmed with the entire company structure because that's not something you just study in class. That's something you have to experience. And every company culture is different. Every company structure is different as well. And the biggest thing that overwhelmed me was that structure. So for example, when I started off, for one, they said that I was going to be paired with a mentor and I'm going to get kind of guided with the code base. And over time, they're going to start allowing me to work on tickets. That was not the case. The person who conducted the interview, I don't know what happened, but they just didn't pass along the fact that I was a junior developer. So I went into my new team with them not knowing at all I was a junior developer. And I had no idea that they did not know I was a junior developer until I started speaking with a few developers around me. But at first, I was just kind of picking up tickets of things I thought I could do. Usually, teams set these tickets by priority. So things at the very top of the Kanban board. If you are familiar with the Kanban board, it looks like this. From left to right, you have the to-do section, in progress, review ready, in review, QA ready, in QA, and then finally done. So the first two are pretty self-explanatory, but once a ticket gets pushed onto the review ready section, that's when another developer is going to have to take a look at your code for suggestions and things like that. You would think that more experienced developers would be the ones to review your code, but actually you'll probably be expected to review other people's code as well. They do this so you can grow as a developer. It is scary at first, but you get the hang of it after a while. It is kind of weird as a junior because how are you going to give someone else input as someone who is barely getting any experience? Preferably, if I was running the company, I would not let junior developers review code for maybe like the first 6 months. But more than likely, a company is going to want to encourage you to review code. So from review ready, it goes into in review, and then what we discussed about reviewing a ticket takes place here. Once the review is finished, now this ticket is in line for the quality assurance person so they can check out your code and make sure it's not going to break the main code base. And then once the QE is done, then it goes to done. And your code is finally merged with the main code in the website. There are different variations of this board, but this is how I usually experienced it. So from top to bottom was the priority, and they kind of wanted developers to take the top regardless of how difficult it was, and then work their way down. As a junior, I got in there, looked at these tickets at the top, and I was like, there's no way I can do that. So I started just picking out the ones I knew I can do. My strategy was get familiar with the Kanban board, get familiar with working in this environment, this brand new environment. I mean, I still felt like a team player because I was taking away all the tiny little tasks in order for the more senior developers can take on the more complicated tasks. Now, my situation was scenario A. It was sink or swim. I didn't really have a mentor until I would say like 5 months in. I eventually was assigned a mentor that I had to schedule myself these meetings with this person with topics of discussion. And those topics could include, I don't know, maybe team conflicts type stuff, how to manage time, anything you can really think of not just development, but you can also, if there's a ticket that you are having a problem with or whatever, you can schedule time with that mentor. That's one way to do it. But a skill set I want you all to have when you're getting into this industry is the ability to build a good rapport with the developers around you. Because the team, if it's a good team, they're going to want to do everything they can to not only move this project forward, but also help you grow and help you obtain that growth as a junior developer. Now you might ask, why would they help me? Why would they waste their time instead of working their own tickets on like pesky little errors and bugs I've been having? Well, the structure of a healthy company actually has incentives for people to come help you. For example, let's call a developer Steve, okay? And Steve has been a developer 1 for quite some time now. Steve would actually like to get promoted to developer 2. However, in order to be developer 2, you need to show leadership skills and you need to show an ability to teach lower programs under you. So with that, Steve is actually going to be very excited at the opportunity to help you because it's going to make him look good in the eyes of the managers and things like that. So it's a win-win for both of you. Steve gets the recognition that he is a leader and but wants to move up in the ranks, and then you get that ability to have someone on there on hand to help you out whenever you need it. Sometimes you have mentors, and then sometimes you have someone like Steve who's trying to get a promotion, so you can use them for help whenever you need to. And there's going to be multiple people like this. You'll recognize, the key is to recognize who is trying to get that promotion and what roles they're trying to take on in order to get that help for yourself. That makes even scenario 1, the situation I was in, much better to deal with, and as opposed to just, quote unquote, sinking or swimming and potentially drinking a mouthful of seawater every freaking time you try to do something new. So that's the next thing I want to talk about, is knowing when you need help versus when you think you should dive in and try to troubleshoot yourself. So in order to obtain that growth that we talked about recently, you kind of need to work your muscle out. Your brain is a muscle. Troubleshooting is a huge way to exercise that muscle. And I encourage you to troubleshoot as much as possible on your own. This takes concentration. This takes motivation. This takes knowing what you want to do in life, even though sometimes I'm like, is this the right career path for me? And then I end up figuring something out by just putting more time into it. Sometimes I don't. But that exercise of troubleshooting and looking at documentation, looking at YouTube videos on how to do something is very important. However, you do need to know when you need to ask for help, right? Some people say, if you are stuck on something for more than 2 hours, then you need to ask for help. I don't know about that. It depends on the problem you're having. It depends on the ticket you're assigned to. Thankfully, my company, allowed a little bit more time for tickets. So I sometimes spent the afternoon trying to do it. And I'm not trying to say spend time in the afternoon, But if you're really trying to figure something out so you can bring to the table the next day, you are going to have to spend some afternoon time figuring out something that you're stuck on. Now, if something's taking, an entire day to figure out and you're not making any progress at all, then that's when you need to realize, okay, I need to swallow my ego and then reach out to somebody for help, which of course I had to do many times. I have a pretty big freaking ego, unfortunately. So, and I mean, you're always trying to prove yourself, so you're always trying to prove yourself as a developer, no matter what stage you are on. You're going to find that out. Either whether you're a junior developer, developer 1, developer 2, or senior, you're always trying to prove yourself in some way. Less so the seniors, but all along the pre-senior path, everyone's trying to prove themselves in some way. So to conclude that, what I was just saying, troubleshoot everything first. Absolutely learn how to debug things. Try to progress in your own way. And if that doesn't work out in a reasonable amount of time, then go ahead and seek help. Cool. All right. Now I want to talk about the structure of Agile development. Agile development is something that many companies are taking on. I just got off an interview about a week ago, and they're transitioning barely now into Agile development. So it's either people are in Agile development now or trying to figure out a way to transition into Agile. And what Agile is a structure on how the team works on the project. And it's how they communicate with each other. So for example, sprint meetings are considered Agile development. Stand-up is actually also considered Agile development. So with that, you will be having a sprint meeting every single day. A sprint meeting, you probably, if you were in a boot camp, you've done it. You talk about, or have you? Have boot camps, you should add this to your day-to-day. You talk about what you worked on yesterday and what you're gonna work on today. Sometimes it's a space where you can discuss the problems you are having, and then you can discuss with other people like how to resolve that or something. But essentially, it's an opportunity for everyone can understand what each individual is working on. Of course, I encourage you to listen in or read up on what other people are doing, so maybe you yourself can prevent some weird thing happening in the project down the line. And then sprints are essentially either 1 week or 2 weeks generally, but it's just per whatever the project you're on. In each sprint, there's essentially a goal. There's a task, right? Say it's a feature. There's this feature we want to implement here, and that's going to be our sprint. That's going to be the focus. That's not to say that's the only thing. There's probably some other things. But initially, there's a certain project, and they need to get that done within a week or 2 weeks, whatever you guys decide on. And going back to the Kanban board, people just call it the board. You don't have to call it the Kanban board. But obviously the main objective is to get these things to the finish line so you can finish that feature. So, the project lead can tell, the client or even the higher up manager, like, oh, hey, we got it done. Or in another instance, oh, hey, we need more time to work on this thing. But generally sprints are every week or 2 weeks, just a cycle to get features moving along. That being said, also in Agile development, there are meetings, tons and tons of meetings. That's probably a huge thing I needed to get used to was all the meetings. There are so many meetings. It's crazy. I mean, like, no one likes meetings, but people love creating meetings. I mean, there's so much to talk about when you're creating a project, right? When you have so many teams, you have to make sure everyone's on board and everyone is talking the same language, is on the same page with certain things, so nothing gets kind of funky. There's the stand-up meeting, like I had mentioned, every morning. You have sprint meetings. At the end of every sprint, you discuss what worked well, what didn't work well, things of that nature. What features you're going to implement in the next sprint, sprint planning. And that's not to mention the company-wide meetings for your company of maybe they want to talk about financials, maybe they want to talk about other projects coming in, because there is a lot of groups that need to communicate with each other. Say you have a group of developers who is contributing to one aspect of a website. Then you have the design team, which is probably external and very well could be designing for every team. But then you have 2 more groups of developers that are working on other aspects of the website. You have the project leads for each of those teams you have the managers at the top, and then you have the clients talking to the managers. Let's say clients or stakeholders, because not everyone is working for a client, right? And that's just the meetings to make sure everyone's on the same page. To make sure your team is on the same page, there has to be many more meetings within yourselves just to discuss every little thing about how to implement a feature, how whatever syntax you guys decided on, reasons that something can work, reasons that something can't work, and things of that nature. You know, sometimes developers would start arguing with each other because there's different chemistries involved, there's different coding styles involved, and then you have meetings about that. But here's the thing. So understanding what the meeting is for is going to put you ahead for sure, because when I went in, every meeting on my freaking calendar had this title that I didn't understand. I'm like, what is this about? What is this agile development? What is this sprint planning? What is stand-up? Like, I guess I understand stand-up through context, okay, whatever. But it's important to understand why each meeting is taking place. You don't want to just show up to a meeting and you're like, all right, what is this, you know? So ask questions about these freaking meetings, because that is something I had a huge trouble with. I got in, I saw my calendar was just full of meetings. I was like, okay, so which ones are the optional meetings? You know, which ones do I need to go to? Which ones pertain to my team? Which ones are company-wide meetings? Over time, you will understand what these meetings are about to further gauge what is needed and what you need to attend. But yeah, I just wanted to touch up on some things. I might actually make a part 2 of this video, maybe even an individual video talking about agile development and, you know, all the meetings that we have. But for right now, I kind of just wanted to do a quick pass through and discuss topics that you should absolutely know before you go into your first job, so you can have a better time than I did. Also, guys, before I got promoted to Developer 1, I actually created a handbook for junior developers coming into our company. Now, technically, this is still the property of my last employer because they were paying me while I wrote this document. But I wanted to add this in the description below so you guys can maybe get some more access to what to expect. But yeah, I hope it helps you. Some things might just only apply to our company, but I hope you can take with it through context of how to apply it to your experience coming up in the future. But there it is. I hope this video helped you guys out so much. It would have helped me, that's for sure. I hope the documentation helps you as well. Congrats if you are entering your first role as a junior. Write it in the comment section, please. And good luck to everyone who is trying to obtain their first role in this crazy environment we're in right now. I hope to see you guys in the next one. I might do skits soon. I don't know. I'm getting pretty bored. So, or just more of these videos to help you guys out on your first role, right? Before it leaves me, before I start forgetting what it was like being a junior developer. But all right, y'all. Have a good one, and I'll see you later. Bye.